Titans, welcome. My name is Jared Barto, and I want to introduce you to the show, Coffee Talk with Jared Barto. I don't know if the name's going to stick. I don't know if it's what I'm going to keep. I don't really know where this is all going to go, but I do have an intention of what I'd like to do while we have some time together. So in this show, this is not the first time that I'm recording. This might be the first time that you're introduced to me. So I know that most people will give you a background on who they are, of why you should listen to them and all that. I'm just going to dive into the material. And if this is good enough for you and you like it, then stick around. You'll get to know me a little bit more. And in the show notes, there should be information about connecting with me, ways to stay connected after the show, talking after the show, things of that. So you can always do research on, do I like this person or don't I like this person? And I'm hoping that just by me being me is going to be good enough. There's a couple things I do want to address that I thought were going to work out but didn't really work out. One is the audio quality. I have a lapel that I was going to use. The problem is this phone that I'm using right now, when I bought it, I was not thinking if it actually had an audio jack. And it doesn't. All it is Bluetooth. So we're going to be looking at good Bluetooth audio recordings that I can do. If you have any good recommendations of any products that you know or you use and you like and you endorse, shoot, if you even have an affiliate link, let me know and I'll be more than happy to check it out to see if it's going to acquire to what we need to do. So there's that. The second thing is this is my real kitchen. This is really where I live. This is my area right here. Not every episode is going to be done in the dining room that I have, as you see the kitchen in the back, simply because I don't know if I'm going to have the time or space to do the episodes in this location. But know that the idea is really simple. I have a cup of coffee and I've already had enough, but we're going to have some more together. This is the mug that is in the current version of the intro. This is a cancer symbol. I actually got this from Pottery by Danielle, that you can check her out on Instagram. She does very boutique releases, but everything is handcrafted. She's doing this full time now. When I first got this mug and a couple of others from her, she was doing it on the side, wasn't really sure. So she blossomed into that to get that part of her dream accomplished. And I was really glad that she was able to do it. She does some fantastic work. So this is by her. I'll put the link in the show notes there. I will be looking down every now and then, not because I need notes to get my shows done, simply because I want to stay on topic. I want to stay on track and I want to stay on time with you. I have a tendency to ramble. I have a tendency to go off the deep end in something, and we'll have time and space for that, but I don't want to go too far into that location, if you will. So what you'll know from this show is that I will have my coffee. I would encourage you to bring any type of warm beverage that you have. If you're watching this video podcast, and hats off to you, I won't always be all decked out in a beautiful beard, and but most of it will be in an audio sense. So even if you don't get the opportunity to watch what we're doing, the idea is simple. I will use my voice to tell a story, to give you the idea that if you're driving, you're traveling, you've got to just listen, that's fine. I would always encourage you to have your favorite type of beverage that you have, usually non-alcoholic. We'll get into the alcoholic sessions, but right now, this is non-alcoholic. Be encouraged, enjoy, relax, think, allow your mind to explore a little bit more, and hopefully you can hear me okay. So with that being said, I'm going to intro just a couple more things, and we're just going to dive right in. These podcasts will be broken into 3 separate segments. The first one is going to be usually discussion about just personal things. It'll be like the personal growth, the personal development. Sometimes we'll get into mindset. Sometimes we will gossip a little bit. I know that's a bad thing to do, but maybe that gossip is just a self-reflection type of gossip that I might be talking about somebody else, but it might be something I'm personally dealing with. Have you ever been in a situation like that? Those can be really challenging, so we'll talk about those. Another segment then will usually be about business. As you may know or may not know, I run an LLC. I have been an entrepreneur unofficially since 2001 and then officially since 2019. So there's a lot of experience in there that we're going to be talking about business in that growth. And when I say business, I don't mean stock reports. I don't mean investment portfolios. I don't mean anything in that space. What I really mean is a relationship that you're building, whether you're doing a business of yourself, you're a full-time employee, you're a marketer, you're a funnel builder, you are an LLC, you're a consultant, you're an agency owner, whatever it is, it's probably going to fit into that. And you'll see life and business will start to, even though they're separate segments, will come together. And then the third one is usually what's going on else around us, not just in our world, but everybody else's world. And I have titled these based off of a recent program that I'm releasing called High Quality Sales Funnels. These areas, it's all based on a triangle. These are the qualities that I've noticed that make sense. And we have funnels in our life, whether you see it or not. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few moments. But these are the things we're going to be talking about. You have a quality of life, a quality of leads, and a quality of legacy. Now, when you combine all three together, typically they're going to balance out in some way. One area might be tipping more in your favor. One might be tipping in somebody else's favor. But typically they will balance out over the longevity of what we're doing. Now, I could use quality and longevity, but that's not the area I want to talk about. Leads, you're like, well, Jared, if I don't run a business, I might just tone out for that. I'm going to encourage you that even if you don't run a business, the quality of leads is a little bit different than what you think. So this episode, I'll talk about what I mean by that, and I will stick to the notes this time around. Next time, I may not. There will be some guests popping in here and there, and when they do arrive, I will let you know in the title and or the show notes. So if you're that type of person that doesn't like guest interviews, you can probably skip those. Typically, I would stick around. Most of good life discussion happens when it's not just a one-on-one, but a one-to-many type of area. So with that being said, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Not that I need any. I would encourage you to do the same, and we're going to jump into Coffee Talk with Jared Barto. I don't know why that came out in like a Bostonian, a coffee talk, sweater weather. That's where we're right now. We're in fall. All right, so we talked about the 3 L's. This is really just a high quality of anything. Like I mentioned, the high quality of life, quality of leads, and then also quality of legacy. But what I'm really looking at here is, I don't know if you've ever encountered something like this. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you're not sure what exactly to say, but you just kind of say something. Like this void, this gap of silence might be disrupting. Might feel a little awkward. You may not be sure what to say. Do we say anything? Do we act on anything? Sometimes we talk just to fill the void of space. I have my son, who is 10 at the time right now, and he tells me that he talks a lot because he's afraid he's going to forget the sound of his own voice. And he likes his own voice. You want to talk about confidence in a 10-year-old right there. I don't think I've enjoyed my voice probably in the past couple of years when people are like, Jared, you really should do a podcast. I'm like, I'm working on it. So what we do is that instead of dealing in this, and I don't know, if you're not in this space, if you've never experienced that before, and you're like, I always know what to say, whenever, hats off to you. I'd like to bring you on the podcast and let's talk about it, because you probably have some techniques and skills that others could benefit from, and maybe you're not sure how to share that. Maybe you're not sure if it comes across as too needy, or maybe not humble, because that's how you were raised, right? I was raised in the church that if we were to be a certain way, that you could not do this or you were going to hell. You could not drink before you're 21 or you would burn in the fire. You could not have sex before marriage because you would be a bad person. That's a bad reflection of the church. That's a bad reflection of Jesus. That's a bad, like you go into this ordeal. So sometimes we will get into a little bit of like religious discussion, but it's more on a faith, spiritual side. And a faith, of course, is just us believing in the things that we cannot see, or believing that something has happened even though we can't prove that it's happened. One of the examples of faith that I would give in previous programs I've done, one called the Best You Right Now, is that when I would leave my home and I'd have my cats here, which one had passed away back at the end of last year, and the other we needed to rehome for health reasons. But anyway, so when they would be here and I'd leave the house, I would have this faith that when I come home, they'll still be here. And they will not have killed each other, or they will not have eaten all their food or drank all their water, but everything would still be intact, as good as it could be, while I left. Now, I didn't know that for sure. I wouldn't know if they actually were still existing in the home until I actually would come home and visualize it with my eyes, or see it with my vision, or to touch it, to have a tangible reaction to it or a response. So in that moment, I was having some level of faith that they were still existing, even though I wasn't here, even though that I wasn't able to confirm that that's exactly what was happening. Hold on one second. I'm going to leave this part in because I just needed to have this moment to make sure we were still recording. I just had this like thought that we weren't, and I'm like, oh crap, I was just talking for 10 minutes here and we got nothing to talk about. And then the initial, like I've noticed, this is my first time doing it, but I do not have any monitors set up to see what's going on. All I have in front of me right now is the blank wall with some mason jars hung up to be all cute and fancy for the holiday season coming up. So anyway, so we have this faith that we believe things are happening or things are existing even though we can't prove it, right? This is a lot of what's happening when we exist in our day-to-day life. There's a lot of faith we're putting things into. A lot of things we can't control, but somehow over time, we've just accepted it. We've allowed it to be in that space. We've never really thought of it in a, oh my gosh, well, what happens when I don't get that? What happens if it's a problem? What happens if I can't make sense of what's coming down the pipeline? In that space, we run into this idea then that there has to be a level of faith that makes sense. And in silence, meditation, areas of techniques and skills like these, there's so much faith that is being put into what we're doing and what practice we have that meditation doesn't just turn into sleeping while sitting up, right? There's meditation that actually gives us an opportunity to be still in the moment, to appreciate the silence that exists. The biggest challenge, though, the biggest challenge that happens when we sit in silence, there's still conversations happening. There's still voices being said. There's still things occurring that maybe we are aware of or not aware of. If you study anything in the neurological space, like I dabble in it here and there, just enough to be dangerous to talk about it, but mainly, not enough to be able to give you a good, solid understanding, just to know, to have conversation. But in the studies that I have been following and seeing what's happening, there's more going on behind the scenes. Like right now, I know and I'm intending what I want to share with you, but I'm not sitting here and formulating all the words before we actually get to it. I'm not sitting here with my notes. Like my show notes are just, this is the stuff I want to talk about today and the things I want to add to the bottom of the notes when we're done. There's nothing here that says, hey, say it like this, say it like that, pause, give inflection. There's no teleprompter. There's no script that I'm following at this. I have a general flow of how I want to do this. So that could mean that am I making this stuff up as I go along? Am I just shooting the shit and we don't really know what's happening? Am I pumping rainbows up your butt? Like what am I going to be talking about and how am I going to be making sense of it? That's where the silence kicks in. How many times have you been in a situation like that before where silence would happen and you still hear things being talked about? It's like you can hear voices, but sometimes they don't sound like your own. They could be the voice of a parent telling you that you messed it up again. It could be the voice of a friend who is saying, well, you bailed on me again. You're going to do it. Well, you did it before. You're going to do it again. It could be the voice of a lover, a partner, a spouse. How do I know I can trust you when you did this before? There's a lot happening behind the scenes that we can't even see. And yet we're having faith that when we move forward in our growth, that we give ourselves a chance to be something more, that we're putting so much trust into that. But when we sit in this silence and we exist with it, we embrace it, we allow it to happen, what are you saying to yourself when you're in those moments? If I were to ask you that, which I am, and if you were to reply, like either letting me know in our chats, or if you shoot me an email and say, this is what I've been thinking about, or, whatever feedback you have that you want to give with this episode, you start thinking, no, I don't really say anything to myself. And I would disagree with that, of course, respectfully. I think that you are saying stuff to yourself. You just don't know what it is that you're saying. You're having this level of conversations that you will be mentioning. Let me put it a little bit differently. Have you had conversations with yourself when no one else is around? Have you given boardroom presentations in the shower because those are the best ideas you've ever come up with? And then you get out, you get dressed for the day, and you're like, what the hell did I just talk about? You've never been in a situation like that. Have you been in a situation where somebody's wronged you, you've gotten so angry at them, and you had a conversation with them one-on-one, but they weren't around? It was just you and you pretending to be them. I think we've all had a moment like that. We may be a little too proud to admit to it, or may not even want to say anything in that respect. However, I can assure you that we are having conversations to ourselves about ourselves, and I'm going to wager not all of us are really kind about it. If I were to put money down on this, if I were to gamble, I would say you are probably nice to yourself 25 to 30% of the time. And then that other 65, 70, or that other 75, 70%, you're probably being an a-hole to yourself. Well, Jared, it's not true. There's no way I would be nasty to me like I'm nasty to other people. They deserved it. I didn't do anything wrong. There's no way that I would be nasty to myself. Okay, let's try this. You're getting yourself ready to go out on a date. Whether you are with somebody in a committed relationship or you're open or whatever your relationship standing is, you're going out. You're getting dressed. You're ready for the day, right? You want to make a nice impression and you're going out. When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you say? Damn, you look fine. You handsome motherfucker. What are you saying? Because most of us, if we're honest, and I will say for myself, I'm not always giving myself a pat on the back. Just this morning, and I was done with my shower, I didn't put any product in my hair, and I've got flyaways from my widow's peak. I didn't say anything negative, but I sure wasn't nice about it. I was like, well, there it is. You look like you stuck your hand in an electrical socket, and now all whatever hair is remaining on your head is now trying to bounce off. I don't know if you can see it, but now you can. It's not negative, but it's not nice. How many times have you said yes to something when you wanted to say no? You're like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to disrupt the relationship that we have. I don't want to create a situation if I can't control what happens. Never? Just me? That can't be true. I mean, if it is, then that would make me an anomaly, and that's pretty awesome. I don't mind being that. The black sheep, that I can stand with that, no problem. That's a rock I'll die on. That's okay. I would be wagering, like I said before, you are probably nicer to other people, kinder to other people than you are to yourself. And it's not a problem. You may not have known about it, but now as we talk about it for the next few moments before I take a quick break, we are going to be sharing over this long journey, however long these episodes are going to go and however long this show lasts. We're going to be diving into these areas. We're going to be talking about what are we saying to ourselves when it's all quiet, when there's nobody around. What are we talking about? What are we saying? What kind of things are we just doing habitually that we don't even realize that we're doing because this is just how it's always been done? This is how our families talk to each other. This is how my dad talked to me and his dad talked to him. This is how my mom treated these situations. This is how my mom raised me. This is how I'm going to raise my kids and all. But we have these ideas. We want it to be different. We may not have liked the way we were raised, and I'm not upset at my parents for the way they raised me. They did their best with what they had. And I hope that my kids are better than me, just as I hope my parents hope that I would be better than what they've done. That's how, and I'm kind of tipping into the quality of legacy, but this is still on the quality of life because we're trying to get to a space where we end up feeling safe in our own skin. We feel safe in the walls that we live in the space that we share with other people, in the clothes that we wear, in the beverages that we drink, the food we consume, everything on a base level here. We're trying to make sure that we are at least safe. And every 5 seconds, our brains are doing this processing to make sure that we're safe. Not in the sense that I need to look around the corner of my view to make sure nobody's trying to break in. It's a relatively environment right now, relatively safe. But right now, I just looked at the door that leads outside to the front, and I didn't lock it. I'm also looking out back. I didn't lock that one either. So in the back of my brain, I'm like, oh, are we safe? And I have to remind myself, yes, we are safe. Even though the doors are unlocked, we're safe. I'm not worried about anybody breaking in. But we also live in the country. It's like a population of in the country, there's a population of about 3,000 people. I know most everybody here. If they need anything, they're not going to come in and break in to get it. They're probably just going to harass me on my phone, or as I go to the store, be like, "Hey, did you have this thing? I was hoping I could borrow it." Or did you see this thing? I kind of need it. Do you have it? Like that, I would expect. Then I have to be worried differently on the safe. But the point that I'm getting to with this is that what we say to ourselves and the routines that we follow and the habits that we have all determine the quality of life that we are going to live. And the bad news that you hear from that is that sounds overwhelming. That sounds like there's no way we'll be able to cover this. There's so much of an overwhelm that nobody really sits down and breaks down, like, how does this work? They'll give you the idea of what habits are. They'll tell you about your routines. They'll tell you about how to talk to yourself. But most of what I'm seeing is there's not a lot of people that are comfortable and confident enough to go out there and say, if you do it like this, you will have an expected result like that. I'm going to say it again. There's a lot of people that can tell you the minuscule ideas of habits, routines, self-talk, meditation, prayer, you name it, how to be a good person all around. But I don't see a lot of people saying, if you do it like this, the type of result you can get is that. Now, it's not a guarantee of a result. It's a general idea of when we're looking for our results and how we're going to have them happen. When I work with people and the clients that I end up working with, we talk about their current state. We talk about what they want their future state, where they really want to be. We talk about the fears. We talk about these things that become false if we don't deal with them. Then we talk about their wants. And we talk about what happens when they aspire to get those wants. But they're creating everything in the center. They're everything that's happening in the middle. They're giving themselves the opportunity to do that. That's how they're setting it up for themselves. That's how they're turning this into a winning opportunity, because for them, they know exactly what the results are. They're creating their own results. They're giving themselves a chance to be more today than they were yesterday, and to be more tomorrow than they are today. You stick around with me long enough, I'll show you what you need to do. Even just on this podcast, we'll talk a little bit about it. Now, I don't know your personal stance. I don't know exactly what your routines are. I don't know. We'd have to work a little bit closer together for me to fully understand and give you a really good idea of what that looks like. Though I'm hoping that the skills that I'm going to be sharing with you and the techniques that I end up using with clients, that you'll be able to use them whether we work together or not. You'll get an idea of what it's like. And I'm hopeful that your life will improve by being a part of this series together, by being a part of this show. Not just because I want your support, not because I want to make sure that I know you're watching and listening, because that helps with numbers and I know I'm doing the right thing, but it gives me more of a general idea of, are we doing this together or are we trying to figure everything out alone? It's okay to exist in the silence. It's okay to have a gap of silence. But if we let it go too far and we're not prepared for what happens in those moments, they can be very, very devastating. And I only want the best for you. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to go warm up my coffee. You'll probably have like a little segment here of me talking about a couple things that I do work on. I wouldn't say that they're ad sponsors, but they are going to be little messages here to give you a little bit more background on what it is, of what I do, why I do it. And if we just go right into the next segment, that means I just didn't have any special messages for you right now. But give it the next minute or two for a quick break. I'm going to warm up my coffee, give you this message, and then I will see you in the next segment. Getting that coffee warm up. Love it. I love it. All right. Well, welcome back, Titan. I'm glad you're back. I hope that first segment we talked about was inspiring enough to keep you going and that you've returned for yet a little bit more. Now, for me, it was definitely a couple minutes. I needed to warm up my coffee. I was debating on if I wanted to light the one candle back there for the ambiance feel, but I wanted to make sure we're all set to go to talk about the next item. Now, when I originally started, I told you that the segments were going to be really like life and business and then world stuff and like legacy and all that. And then I mentioned that the beginning is more like a quality of life. This segment's going to be like a quality of leads, and then the last will be a quality of legacy. So what that really means though for you, and again, I will be talking more in a business side here, but it's not because I don't want you to be a part of it if you're not in a business. I want you to get an idea that if you don't run a business, you work for somebody that does own a business, right? You're either going to be running a business, you'll be working for somebody who has one, or you'll be in that middle ground where you're still like a full-time employee, but you're starting something up on the side and you're kind of a freelancer, but now it's turning into something greater. And that's going to be something that you're like, okay, what do I do? I'm talking to you particularly. So even if you don't have a business, even if you're not a freelancer, even if you don't do anything in a 1099 space or entrepreneurship or anything that's buzz trendy right now, this segment's still going to be mattering to you because I'm going to be talking a lot about communication and our messaging tactics. And not just on like the marketing side of that, but also think about it from the perspective of how you would want your manager or your person that you're reporting to, how you'd want them to talk with you. Because a lot of what we do in the business side is not just buy my shit and leave, right? A lot of what we're supposed to, I mean, that's probably the whole dynamic that's out there because media made that popular. But really what our main focus here is we're building relationships with people, right? There's colleagues of mine that will call it the business to consumer. There's you have business to business opportunities, but one of my colleagues talks it more of like an H to H, and that's more like a human to human experience. And when he talked about that, I'm like, yeah, dude, that makes so much sense. Like, we're just trying to build this relationship. So when I talk about sales funnels, I really mean, we even just talk about funnels for the next 16 minutes or so, because everything we deal with is a funnel. Everything and every aspect of our life has been a funnel. If you're in a committed relationship, right, you've gone through the dating aspect. Even if you're single, you've either decided to go through dating or not. That was a decision that was made by a funnel, by choices you're making. All the funnel is doing is just helping to guide a decision of something we ultimately want, just making sure we make the right decision. How many of you have a TV in your home? How many of you have a TV of a brand that you are loyal to? How many of you just have a TV? Like we still have old CRTV or whatever it is. Like we still have the old box where it has like a 50,000 volt suction cup in the back of it, because that's just how they were made, like the old school monitors too. Don't touch those, you'll die. You'll probably live, but I wouldn't do it. So in the living room, we have a larger TV that was one that we had to replace from an existing one. We tried to clean it. It broke while we were cleaning it. And it kind of works now, but I didn't want to chance that because it was right around the time that the world stuff was going on. The big old C. It rhymes with Rovid. So we were dealing with all of that, and I'm like, we're all home here. We have tons of movies that we can watch, DVDs. We don't need a streaming service, but we do, but we don't. And I wanted everybody to have a good space for that. So when I was going to buy another TV and get one for the home, I was already thinking, well, do I want to be brand-based? Do I want it feature-based? Like, what do I want to do? And in this case, I'm like, let's go by features. It just so happens that if the one I get is off a brand I like, I'm going to do it. But why did I pick that brand in the first place? I did research way back in the day, like 2007, 2008, when you're starting to see, you're starting to see the flat screens come into a more affordable price point, and more features were being available by them. So we started to think, okay, what brand matters the most? So I would listen to my friends. I'd listen to colleagues that worked in electronics. I would say, oh, do you want it? Like, if you want this, then you want a Samsung. If you want this, you want a Vivio. If you want this, then you want it, you keep going. And the list goes on and on. But those are all funnels. They're all designed to help us make a decision that makes sense to us. When you're looking for somebody you want to spend your time with, you're going on dates, you download Tinder, you go on Snapchat, you go on TikTok, wherever you're trying to find people to hook up. Please don't use LinkedIn, by the way. And you're trying to find people to hook up with, you're funneling people. Swiping left or swiping right is a funnel. You're deciding yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You're starting to weed out the potential people that you would want to spend time with. Then after that, you decide, hey, who are we going to message? That's just another layer to this funnel. And then you'll send a message, and some people will abide to that message, and some will ignore it. Some will continue the conversation after that initial message, and then some will just disappear off the face of the planet like they were just abducted, ghosting in the highest fashion. All a funnel. Every time you go for a job, you're in a full-time employee situation. Every time you go for a job and you want to be in the right space, you're in a funnel. You fill out your resume. You look for job postings. They put the post up there. And you're reading that post over to see, does my resume have this? Does my cover letter have it? Do I have references that would make sense, that would align to this, that they could talk about it? And then the recruiter is funneling through and sifting through every single application that's come across. They're going swiping left or swiping right to see if you're a good fit. Then the messaging starts. Recruiters, if you're listening to this, can I let you know, I'm not going to call anybody out by name. Can I let you know, most of you suck at this, at communication. Most of you are thinking of us as people who would take contracts or jobs that were just a number to you and you just want to get paid. We get it. It's a sales game. But seriously, if you're having conversation and you haven't heard anything back from a potential client, don't let your recruiting person reach out to you. You start that conversation. You control that messaging, right? And that leads me to discussions I'm going to have here. Everything's a funnel. If you really want to break it down, single thing is a funnel. When I do it, I simply focus on the digital side of people wanting to make sales. And sales aren't just let's make the money to me. A sales funnel is more over, are we talking to the right people? Do the right people want to talk to us? Is our messaging clear? Do we know what we're talking about? Is it clear all around? And what kind of result are people going to get when they decide to trust us with their business and trust us with their life? Does this make sense for everybody included, or is it just making sense for me? Do I have an island product where it's so fantastic, nobody knows about it? This is where our messaging comes into play. This is where our communication starts to make sense. This, even if you don't run a business, helps with how you write your emails and the structure of what you're trying to get done. If you're a business analyst, like I am, you might be tasked with getting requirements from people who don't even know what they need. They don't even know what they want. They just know that their boss is handing them to get a job done, and it's our duty to go in there and see if we can make it better. But they don't even know how to make it better because they don't know what exists out beyond their walls. Not because they're not intelligent. It's simply because they haven't had a need to do it. And they don't know how to do it because it's not part of something they were trained. Do you understand where I'm going at with this? Because if not, I'll keep breaking it down until we get there. And I'm recording this, so none of you would be able to respond live anyway. Maybe when we do our lives, we'll do it like an actual class. Maybe we'll do that instead. On top of, not instead. Combating with, or no, collecting with, right? Geez, stumbling over. I'm slightly distracted by the timer that I have. The lapse that I'm using for my stopwatch to make sure we stay on schedule because my battery only has a certain amount of time left anyway. That we some of them are green, some of them are red. So I'm like, ooh, Christmas colors. That's exciting. Anyway, not here nor there. Our messaging needs to be clear. When we're talking to people, we must be clear with what we can offer to them. And if we're not clear with ourselves and we're being nasty ourselves, like I alluded to in our very first segment together, we're not going to be clear with other people. And then if we're not clear with other people, frustration starts to kick in. And when frustration happens, nothing is resolved and nothing is solved. Now, frustration itself as an emotion is not a bad thing. Frustration in itself lets you know, okay, you're making an effort on something, you're trying something, but is it making sense? If you're writing emails to get people that are leads to buy your program, buy your product, buy your service, buy whatever, if you have an Etsy store, you have e-com, whatever, you're trying to get people to buy your item. You're probably telling them the benefits of why they need to buy the item. Oh, it's going to be great if you get this necklace. This necklace is 24 karat gold. It hangs right a little bit below your collar line or collarbone line. It doesn't droop too much down in the front so you don't get lost in there. Like, you're telling all the benefits it does. It's easy to maintain. It doesn't knot up. Like, that's great. I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody really cares about that. What they care about is what is it going to do for them. That's great that it's a 24 karat gold, but is it going to stain on my skin? And if it doesn't, are you accurately saying that? This necklace is perfect for a night on a town with the person you love. That sounds like a pretty good deal. This necklace not only will fit most outfits that you have, it's going to make you look like a Hollywood star. People will not be able to stop looking at you. That's a benefit of the benefit. So when we're trying to make our communication come across, it's just like one brief example too. You could do one in like the servicing space. If you are an affiliate marketer and you're trying to sell an affiliate product, let's say it's you've got a weight loss pill, right? Because that tends to be the biggest thing that people want to do is the health and wellness when it comes to weight loss, or when it comes to affiliate marketing, because that's somewhat the easiest. I'll tell you it's not the easiest, okay? A lot of people are not sensitive to that, but they aren't ready to talk about it. So your messaging would have to come across a space of story-driven discussions. It would have to be in a space that people feel safe enough to then open up to you to say, you know what, I have gained a little bit of weight since the world stuff went down and I'm not really excited about it, but I don't know what else to do. We don't jump on them and slaughter right away. In that case, we need to slow down and listen and make sure we heard what they say and reaffirm. Are you saying that it's been a little tough to be in that dress that you got not too long ago because a lot of this world stuff made it really hard to focus on that, right? And most people then will be like, it's exactly what I'm saying. Or they might seem frustrated, which means you didn't really get to the root yet, but you don't poke at it too much, right? We can do this with our emails. We can do this with texting. We can do this with our phone calls. And by the way, younger generation, it's okay to call people. It's okay to make a quick phone call if you need to get picked up somewhere instead of sitting and waiting and just texting where you at. Like, get on the phone and call your parents or call the people who are picking you up. If Uber's on its way to get here and they're driving late, call them, Don't just text them. Don't just shoot them a message in the app. Call them. But the chances are you're probably not discussed on how to have open communication where it's not just you saying what you want, but listening to what other people, active listening is what we would call it. And it's okay. Like I said, even though this is a business-focused discussion, this can benefit anybody that makes money. Whether you make money for yourself or you make money for somebody else, you're still getting a paycheck, just a different kind. What about it? What about an unruly manager? What about a director that is hard to work with? You're going to make a reference to an old colleague of mine. We worked at the bank together. He's a great guy. I don't think we worked well together because we both have different versions of what we think leadership is. Neither is right or wrong, just a different approach. And I struggled and wrestled to find a way to see it from his vantage point because I didn't fully trust him in a way. And again, it's not that he's an untrustworthy gentleman. He's a great guy. And I even said to him and myself, I'm like, if we hadn't worked together, I'm pretty sure we'd be hanging out a lot because I like you as a person. And I'm pretty sure I'm likable from your perspective. I can't tell you if you like me or not. But if you didn't, you wouldn't have hired me in the first place and you would have got rid of me a long time ago. So it's just, there's, how do you talk to then a manager like that? How do you talk to a director like that? Well, the first thing you can do is you don't push it off to them. You don't project what you're experiencing onto that manager or director. You almost have to take the first jump at vulnerability. Well, if I'm vulnerable, I'm going to lose my job. Well, then I have to ask you, is keeping your job more important than losing yourself? Well, I have a bill to pay. I have this, and we'll talk about that. I know I'm really getting into like heavy material as we're almost done with this part. So I realize it's a little challenging. Let me keep it a little bit more surface layered and make it a little bit more simple in that space. When you write your email, the first one you write, don't send it. Don't even put it in like your email program. If you're using Gmail, if you're using Outlook, whatever you're using, Linux, anything Linux-based, don't send it. Don't even put it in there. Just put it in a processor. Put it in a Google Doc. Put it in Grammarly. Put it in something. Put it in a notepad. Put it in memos. Put it somewhere that it cannot be sent, no matter what you do. Get that first thought out and then read it over. And then ask yourself, if I got a message like this, would I first want this message? And two, would I know what the hell to do with it? And three, would I even want to reply to it? I know it seems like a lot of work. I know it does. But consider the alternative. Spend a few extra moments up front before you send a message versus spending 30 minutes plus trying to fix something on two emotional stances when maybe if we took the time up front, we wouldn't have to deal with that. Now, you still might have to, but you have a different perspective going in. You have a different thought process. If we keep ourselves open to levels of communication we don't typically do, and we focus on the messaging we're trying to get across, most people will start to trust us. Most people will start to believe in us, not in like a faith way, but believe that what we're saying is actually for their benefit and not just ours. It's a negotiation that will be done together. I can't believe we're at the time already. We're already at 15 minutes for this. Again, we talk about this forever. So we'll break this out. We'll talk a little bit more, and feel free when the show notes, feel free to give me feedback. What would you like me to talk about in this space? What kind of things would you like me to share? What kind of things are you going through? You can keep it anonymous too. I will ask for your email when you do. It's just because if I use that conversation, I might want to follow up with you if we actually give advice to see what happens and like keep me in the loop. I won't use your names. I just have it in the background for database so I know how to reach out to you and all that. But when I talk about it, I won't use names or anything. So that being said, I'm going to take one more break. I'm going to warm up my coffee one last time. Baby, just get a fresh cup. Who knows? And then when we come back, we're going to talk last about how we can make an impact that exists beyond ourselves and what we can do to keep that going even when we're gone. Be back in a minute. All right, Titans, let's get back into it. We're coming up to it. My battery has exactly 15 minutes. So that means we're going to have to jump in here and not waste any extra time. I've got to tell you this, and I want to wrap up in a few things and give you a blessing to get you on your way. So let's go ahead and dive in. First couple of segments here, from my perspective, have been pretty awesome. I'm excited to finally be able to do this. This is a project I've been sitting on probably for a few years, and I've practiced doing podcasting on car rides back and forth. Some of those episodes will be released. They will be batched out. I don't know. Some of them are just journal entries, so maybe, I don't know. If you want them, then maybe I'll put them out there. I don't know. It's little life lessons here and there. We'll eventually get over those. They're about like 7 to 8 minutes a piece. They're just supposed to be like little popcorn type deals that if you're going back and forth, you had to run to the store quick and you weren't sure what to listen to and you didn't want silence. All that kind of jazz. I did one last warm up on my coffee. I also have a meeting with my own coach coming up in about 23 minutes. So we will have to wrap up for sure. I do have a hard stop for me. For you, you're just like, that doesn't matter. I can rewind, go forward at any point in this space, and I can listen as I need to. But I want you to know that this is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. And I was concerned that I wasn't strong enough to do it, that I didn't learn enough. I didn't have enough stories. I may not have been the best person to do it. I gave all these reasons to not do this with you. I put everything in the book that would make sense to avoid it. Well, I've got to make phone calls today. I'm going to build my email list. Same excuses I give for sometimes not going to the gym. Well, I got work to get done. I got bills to pay. If I don't pay the bills, that's all I'm going to be thinking about while I'm at the gym, which is not true because you can set up a life that you can enjoy, whether you are working for yourself or working for somebody else. And then it got me thinking, is this the story I want to share my own children and show them that this is the life they're going to have to live? And it didn't dawn on me until probably about a couple years ago. One of my elder daughters had mentioned to me, we were talking about like a life lesson, whatever. It was an opportunity to do a life lesson. I try not to do them as often because I don't want to be the dad that's always like, well, or have like a fable ready to go. Like they're kids. They don't always want to hear it. Sometimes they just want the answer and they just want to go on their way. Sometimes my clients are the same way. Jared, I don't need freaking backstory. Just tell me if I need to do this or not. Yes or no. So I'm working on it. The idea though, is that she said, I'm not like you. I don't want to run a business. Okay. I don't care about what you're saying. I'm not interested in being a business owner. I don't care about entrepreneurship. And at first I was kind of hurt by that. And not in the way of like, oh my gosh, how dare you not want to do something I want to do? But then I started thinking, how was I that insensitive to what she might like and not like? It felt very self-centered at that point. Not in like a self-care, self-centered, more in I wasn't considering what she might be interested in, what she might like in this. I looked at it from my perspective. I enjoy waking up early with an alarm clock, but don't have a job to go to. I like that. At first I didn't. I thought, man, this is exhausting. But now I'm like that time in the morning while everybody's getting ready. It's still a little quiet. I got the fake fireplace on the TV. We're bougie like that. I got all this set up. Like my coffee is ready and I'm reading a book and the lights that are in there. We got those Edison light bulbs. Oh my gosh, it's so great. Like I feel that to me it's authentic and I'm like, I would not want to give this up for anything. This is a rock I would die on for this. I used to not like waking up with an alarm clock because it stirred up that initial thought of I'm going to have to work for somebody else for the rest of my life and I feel trapped. That was my feeling. And then I also made the crucial calculated decision that everybody wanted to be an entrepreneur. In my earlier affiliate and marketing days, as a freelance marketer, I thought, oh, everybody's going to want to do this. Why not? You make your own money, write your own checks. Like this is a good thing. Turns out not everybody wants to make extra money on that. It's not because they don't think they can, but most people come back to that safety side of, I like what I do, I like where I am, and I don't want to change that. It's tough to accept a position like that. In the dating world, you could have done everything right. You could have been a gentleman. You could have been a fantastic woman. You could have been somebody that this other person wanted to spend time with. Just something for them that just didn't click. You could sit there and internalize that you did everything wrong. What I would encourage you is to see, did you care about their feelings? Did you care about where they were? Did you, not to the point where you got to ignore your own feelings, but did you show some interest to do that? Like to care about where they were? And that's eventually what got me into thinking, what kind of impact am I trying to make here? If I took all the money away, I took all the friends away, I took everything that I do away, and it's just me, what kind of impact am I making to this space that would live beyond me, that would be a benefit to the world, that would be a benefit to creation, that would be a benefit to nature, to life, what am I doing? And some of us might think, oh, well, I work a line job. I do reports. I do this, I do that. That makes an impact. And what I would caution you is to make sure you understand what impact that's making. And if it's impacting a cause that you don't believe in, then start finding an impact to make it in a cause that you believe in. There was a story that Oprah had a while ago. I forget which book I read it. And if I can find it, I'll share it with you. And if you know it, feel free to let me know an email, and I'll bring it up in the next episode. But she had mentioned that she started making all her money that she did. She was getting charities left and right, looking for help, and be like, oh, and she's like, of course. And she's writing checks. And all of a sudden she's in the middle of writing one check, and she's like, I don't even agree with what this charity is doing. Why would I give them money? I don't even agree with it. So then she started to sit down, and she's like, how powerful no could be in this space, and worried that people would turn on her if she said no. And she's like, there's no reason to be in a space like that. That's not the impact that I'm trying to make, that's beyond myself, that I can impact the world. So from here on out, I'm only going to write checks. I'm only going to donate money to the causes I personally believe in, that I would like to see better. Now, regardless of your personal opinions on Oprah and where you stand with her and politically and all that, I'm not interested in that. Because when everything's long gone and different cultures are done and all that, politics are not going to matter. What's going to matter is, what did we do with the time we had, and how did we benefit life versus the encouragement of death? That's what I believe is going to matter. So if that's the case, that would make the power of no even more powerful. That would make what we do right now impact the world, even at a small scale. I'm not saying I need you to get into world politics. I'm not saying that you need to be communicating with people all across the world. I would highly recommend having friends outside of the United States. And if you ever decide to travel, it's good to know that there are people you can at least reach out to before you do and be like, hey, which places should I go to? Which places should I didn't? I'm not saying that I want you to keep your culture yourself. I would like you to share your culture with everybody, your backgrounds or whatever you are, your skin tone, what you believe in. Like, share all that with the world, because the world needs that. The impact that we can do as entrepreneurs, as full-time employees, as moms, as dads, as friends, as lovers, as you name it, whatever title it is you give yourself, the impact that you get to make today, this quality of legacy that exists. It doesn't matter if it's just a financial legacy. It doesn't matter if it's just a belief, faith legacy. Whatever it is you truly believe on, and you believe with it in the heart of your hearts, the right people will be spurned to that cause. And they will carry it on, not because of you, but because of the impact of the belief that you have of that cause. If we were to talk about something probably very sensitive, and I'll be careful on it, we talk about child trafficking and the ending of this. If the reality is true, will it ever 100% go away? I don't think it will in my lifetime. I would love to see that stop. I would love to redirect that energy to, instead of taking children away and selling them off, to impacting children and giving that money to families to see them grow, to see their dreams come alive. And the only way that can happen officially is I started in my own home. I start here by encouraging my children in what they do and listening to what they care about. If I truly want to build a legacy that's going to impact others, I can start with the world I have right here. The world that is counting on me to show up and be at my best and give them everything. It doesn't mean I have to be perfect, but it means that I need to keep my open communications going. It means that I need to be mindful of what I'm talking about to myself when I'm quiet and things are in a peaceful setting or it's silent. I need to be careful about what I'm encouraging them to do and listening to what they care about. So when that impact is being done and I give them life lessons and I can see the gears turning, they start thinking, well, yeah, I do want to travel, or I want to go here, I want to go there. Good. That's what I'm aiming for. Because if I'm not doing it right like that, then what's the point? What's the point of all this then, right? Okay. Before I jump into that rabbit hole, we're going to wrap up for today. This has been fun. It's been fun for me. I don't know about you. I don't know where you're at in this space. But here's what I'd like to do. The way that I like to wrap up any type of presentations, or anytime that I'm asked to speak, or anytime I go anywhere and we have amount of time to talk about things. I went over a lot of material today. I covered a lot of bases. If you're just listening to this while you drive, if you're watching a video podcast on YouTube, you're watching it wherever it's being streamed, you probably are able to take some notes. And you're going to be like, well, Jared, I don't want to take notes. I think that's dumb. I have to do that all day for my job. I have to do it at school. I have to do it here. I have to do it there. I don't want to take notes. Good. Then don't take notes for them. Take notes for me. Do it for me because I'm asking you to. No, I'm just kidding. Do it because repetition of your memory is a lot better than just saying, I'll remember this. When you're creating neural pathways, the more you do it of something, the more often that it happens, the more it becomes like a secondhand nature, and then it becomes a habit, and then it changes our routine, and then it changes everything else around us, and we can subconsciously act towards the things that we care about and believe in. So the only question I'm going to ask you is this. Out of everything we talked about, what did you find to be most useful that you can use right now? What did you find to be most useful that you can use right now? I would encourage you to let me know. In the show notes, there's going to be a section that all you have to do is just click on it. And when you click on it, it'll bring up probably a quick little site that you can do on your phone or on your computer. And all I'm asking you to do is give me your name, email, and what did you find to be most useful. That's it. It's almost like a little support thing. I am curious myself. I will not put you on an email list unless you want to be. That email list is really just about like, we're going to stay connected, know when the next show is being released, where it's being released to. That email will have my social links. It'll have my personal website, my business website, if you're in that business space and want to connect. It's going to have all of that. I just don't have it all in the show notes. Otherwise, it'd be like super duper lengthy. So that's the only type of emails I will send out to you if you want to be on that email list. If you don't, that's fine. Just send me the information of what did you find to be most useful, because my future content will be geared around the things you want to talk about. And if I get a lot of people that end up saying, Jared, I want to talk about relationships. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. If I'm a good subject matter expert for it, we're going to talk about it together, you and me. If I'm not, I'll bring on somebody who is a subject matter expert and we'll all talk about it. And if they want to go live in a class, we'll do that too. This is not just a regular podcast. My intention of this coffee talks that we have together is to make an impact in each other's lives, to grow together as people, to have a community that we can actually trust each other, be vulnerable, and make calculated decisions together that grow where we want to be. So with that being said, know that I care about you, know that I appreciate you, and know that today is a great day. And even if you have not experienced it yet yourself, Titan, you hang in there. I know you will soon. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.